You tweeted on May 25 around a retweet in your own comments, that indicated the New South Wales approach has been best of not locking down for a handful of cases. Do you stand by that? Is this lockdown necessary?
Well, good morning. Look, I think that we're certainly questioning why the entire state has been locked down. We know that there's outbreaks in Melbourne. We understand that. We understand that some regional cities have also seen outbreaks, but there are also parts of Victoria that don't have any COVID and haven't seen COVID for months. And those residents are asking, why are we closed down? Why are we restricted to 5 kilometres from our home? Why are our small businesses shut, and why are people out of work? So I think that proportionate responses are really important. I do think the New South Wales government has demonstrated that they've been able to keep this virus in check and do it in a proportionate way which keeps their schools open and their businesses open and limits lockdowns to the areas that are affected. And I do think that that is a better way.
So just to clarify then, if you were leader right now, you would perhaps lock down Whittlesea and surrounds and leave the rest not locked down, but just with some restrictions?
No, look, I think Greater Melbourne, I think there are certainly arguments because when you look at the number of exposure sites, it does range across different suburbs of Melbourne. But I was recently in Mildura, up in the northwest of Victoria. They haven't had a case in Mildura for months and months. There's no exposure sites in Mildura. So the question is, why is Mildura being locked down? I do think that a proportionate response is a better one. Yes, Greater Melbourne, yes, regional centres where there are exposure sites, but in parts of Victoria where there's no exposure sites and no cases, why are these people being put through the same pain that Melburnians are?
And what about schools? You were tweeting about that. Should they still be open?
Well, look, somebody pointed out, I think on Twitter yesterday, asking the question, is the drug injecting room in Melbourne open? And yes, it is, but apparently it's too dangerous for our kids to go to school, but it's okay to go to the drug injecting room. It does seem odd. I mean, look, I've got school kids, many Victorians do. They went through hell last year, being denied the opportunity to have that face-to-face learning. We know that children have got a very, very low transmission rate, and it does seem to be something that's having a major impact on our kids. And you do have to ask the question, was it necessary to keep our kids out of school, particularly given how much school they lost last year?
Well, what's the answer according to you?
Well, the answer is, again, it's proportionality. New South Wales has had cases and they've had lockdowns, but they've had schools open. So my question is...
Would you keep schools open?
Well, this is the job of an opposition leader, is to challenge the government. The government doesn't release public health advice. We keep asking for the advice. We say, please table it. Please let Victorians see that your actions are actually based on proper public health advice. And all the government says in this state is, well, take us on trust. We're not going to show you the advice. You just have to believe us. Well, that's not my job. Right. It's not just to believe what this Labor government says. It's to ask the questions. And I'm asking a question on behalf of students and parents in this state. Where is the public health advice that demands closing schools?
So just to clarify, you're not calling for the schools to be open without that information. You'd like to see that before making that call. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm saying that other states have been able to have targeted lockdowns and keep schools open. And if there's public health advice that says Victoria is so different from those other states, Victorians want to see that, and that's what I'm calling for.
Okay. This time, the original cases come out of South Australian quarantine. Is that where anger from Victorians should be directed towards, the hotel quarantine system?
No, look, anger is not a very helpful emotion at this point. We just need to get through this as quickly as possible and try and secure our recovery. I mean, Victorians went through so much last year. We had 112 days of hard lockdown. We saw thousands of jobs lost, businesses closed. We finally got the feeling that we're getting back on the horse. We had another snap lockdown in Valentine's Day this year. And what I'm interested in is how do we make sure that we don't repeat these mistakes? Now, yes, obviously, hotel quarantine is your first line of defence, but your second line of defence is contact tracing. And there's no doubt we've seen mistakes made here in Victoria. The government's admitted it. They named the wrong Woolworths supermarket for 2 weeks. So the government does need to improve its contact tracing systems because that is the second ring. The other point is that only today does Victoria have one uniform QR check-in code system. you've got to shake your head and ask, why has it taken this government so many months to have one uniform system when clearly that is so important for accurate contact tracing? Other states have had uniform systems for months, and Victoria's only doing it today.
Do you agree with the federal government that the hotel quarantine system is highly effective?
Look, it's not foolproof. And at the moment, we would like to see an alternative to hotel quarantine considered. And we say that because Victorians know that this government does get it wrong from time to time with hotel quarantine, and we know that we're the ones who pay the price for that. So I do want to see an alternative to hotel quarantine, and I understand that there's discussions going on between the Victorian and federal governments at the moment. That's something I support.
Michael O'Brien, we appreciate you standing by and being patient there. Thank you.
Thank you.